Yeah, thanks for making it to Veterans Preference. We're glad you made it. We have some updates for you on specific benefits and how the VA may be fast tracking those benefits for you. With that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. We really, really appreciate it. Helps to get this information out to those that need it. Now, like with everything, the world of VA and benefits is very nuanced and not everything fits you specifically, but it does impact our brothers and sisters. So you watching this video helps to put it into the hands of those that need it. All right, so the headline here is VA fast tracks benefits for veterans exposed stateside to Agent Orange. So this just came out last month, and we wanted to share it with you here today and jump into it a little bit. So I'm going to it's a little short, tiny article. I'm going to read a couple paragraphs, share our thoughts, and we'll go from there. So in February, the Department of Veterans Affairs announced plans to expand locations and timeframes that it presumes exposure to Agent Orange and other herbicides. We'll talk about the word presumes as we kind of digest this. Under the proposal, the VA would add locations in the United States, Canada, India, to existing presumptives for Agent Orange in Vietnam, Cambodia, Johnston Atoll, Guam, America Samoa, Korea, Laos, and Thailand. So a presumptive of exposure lowers the burden of proof required, helping fast-track disability benefits for veterans exposed to certain toxins. This expansion will help veterans who served in specific locations receive health care and benefits for certain cancers and chronic conditions. This is fantastic. I followed this before. Remember, guys, that a presumptive condition, if you are deemed a presumptive condition because of your service, the VA eliminates the need for you to provide a nexus, which means you do not need to prove to the VA that your condition is caused by or manifested during or anything resulting with your service. You just need to simply say, I served here during the specified time frame and I have this condition, and the VA goes, granted, you're service connected. This is huge because currently everything's overseas for presumptive Agent Orange, but guess what? You guys know, like I know, Agent Orange was used, stored, and tested in the US and Canada and India. And what about the vets that had to do that and be around that, right? Oh, this is just great foliage killer, right? I'm going to spray it around the base, right? So now we have some sort of recourse that could be coming. What are your thoughts, Randy?
Yeah, it takes a little bit of a walk into the history books here. Certainly was used more than it probably should have been overseas, especially during the Vietnam conflict. But you're absolutely right. The product was used, stored, and tested here in North America. And there were individuals that were exposed to it, and that led to a whole host of health issues. So I don't think that there's any issue with expanding where the presumptive, positive area is. I think it's a wise thing to do. And get those service members that were exposed here in the United States, or some of them in Canada if they were serving there at the time. Looks like they threw India in. Not sure why that is. I don't know that piece of history quite as well as I probably should, but I do know it was tested extensively and stored extensively here in the United States, which led to a whole bunch of issues. So I think it's a good thing. Anytime we're expanding benefits for veterans and doing it in a common sense way, I think it's a healthy thing. Chris, I'll throw it over to you to get your thoughts.
I'm gonna try not to sneeze here, but yeah, it's about damn time, right? And it's war sucks. War is hell. Looking back, many years later, you probably being smarter, wiser about these things, and not just from war, but from commercial industry. We could all go back and think about things we did with petroleum oil, lubricants, products, and other containers of things that were sketchily marked that as you were looking for something else, right, you probably came across. It's one of those things where in a way, I understand why it takes so long, but you've had folks who have been suffering for a very long time. And this is great that it didn't go just to the wayside, but at the same time, I'm hoping that the government looks at these things. I mean, you see the burn pit stuff happen relatively, in a much faster way. I just hope that we're getting smarter and better about really looking into these things and understanding the effects, so we could take care of the folks, and preferably having other options and making better decisions before even using some of them.
Yeah. Did you have something else you wanted to add, Randy?
No, all yours, man.
Okay. So, here's the thing. The VA put out a news release February 9th, 2024 on this specific move. Now, it's a proposal. It's not into effect yet, okay? So the VA has proposed a rule. They can't just willy-nilly do things. They have to go through a process. So they do a proposed change to the rules, and then they push it through the Federal Register, and then they gather comments from the public and all that stuff, and then it's a big ship, and then they got to kind of turn the ship and then implement it with any changes, that type of stuff. So I'm hoping that this goes through quicker than not would be good. But just for everyone's awareness, the VA did put out this press release, again, back in February, and the information is on the Federal Register. I'm going to read you a little blurb directly from the VA kind of the horse's mouth, right? So the first part that we read was from DAV, so the Disabled American Veterans, great organization, helps to champion bills and stuff for us there at the Capitol. From the VA's news release, the title is VA Proposes Rule to Extend Presumed Areas of Exposure to Agent Orange and Other Herbicides, making it easier for exposed veterans to receive their earned benefits. I'm going to read again a little part in here regarding just the opening paragraph. So it says, the Department of Veterans Affairs issued a proposed rule outlining plans to expand the locations and timeframes for which VA presumes exposure to Agent Orange and other herbicides. If this proposed rule becomes final, VA will implement a new presumption of exposure to locations where herbicides were tested, used, or stored outside of Vietnam. Specifically, this proposed rule would add locations in the United States, and then there's a link here for the full list of locations in the U.S. as well as Canada and India. They're going to add those to the existing presumptives for Agent Orange in Vietnam, Cambodia, Johnson Atoll, Guam, America Samoa, Korea, Laos, and Thailand. So India, for example, is not on that list, and it's in that region. The wind blows hard enough, maybe Agent, or maybe they had some stored in some area in India. I don't know, but this is an important thing, and I think that it's going to offer some good benefits here for folks. Here's the piece I want to throw out. The veteran in that time frame who worked in the U.S. never went to Vietnam, but they were around. They were in an area that's going to potentially be a presumed location. Passes away from a heart attack, right? Never connected with the VA, thought to themselves, well, I did 3 years, 4 years, 2 years, whatever time I did, and I did it in whatever state in the U.S. I don't qualify for anything, right? Then they die of a heart attack. That surviving spouse will now be able to file for dependency indemnity compensation if that veteran had maybe ischemic heart disease, or maybe they had hypertension, and that those became a contributing cause. One of those became a contributing cause to death. Then they could be ending up with dependency indemnity compensation, which pays out between about almost $1,700 a month tax-free, all the way up to over $3,000, depending on various factors. So this doesn't just affect the veteran; it affects the spouse. Randy, your thoughts?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit on this channel before. I've used the term sort of family inventory. So you have to take a look at your family, see what's going on. This particular topic that we're talking about right now tends to apply to an older veteran population. So if they were stateside, if they handled, used, stored, tested, whatever it may be, Agent Orange, I think it's time to have a conversation. And in a previous episode, we talked about it all starts with a conversation. So have a look at who's in the family, have a look at the conditions that they're experiencing, and do some of these things tie back to that service member's time in uniform. Now, the Department of Defense says it got rid of Agent Orange back in 1970. So some of these folks that may be suffering from this may be aging out. So now's the time to have that family inventory, talk a little bit about what's going on, and then reach out to a VSO, get some help from them. Again, this is just sort of an initial step, like Jason said, but now's the time to get ahead. So if this drops and this benefit becomes a presumptive positive, get after it. That's what I got. Chris, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt because you never know things where the Agent Orange exposure, actually, because it's cancers, it's birth defects, it's things like diabetes, it's lung issues. It could have lots and lots of different impacts that could be, genetically passed on. So, it is important for you to get smart on the subject, important for you to make sure that if you are a veteran who is exposed or a loved one of a veteran who is exposed, to take action on this and actually do your research, because you never know what has contributed to some of the ailments and diseases that could be hitting your family.
Absolutely. And here's the big thing, right? It's awareness. It's knowing what's happening. It's being aware of the different benefits that are out there. Again, I think that this one's great. I'm hoping that they push it through quicker than not. Reaching out to your congressional members is always good. Just kind of keeps it on their radar. They're not involved in this. This is not a law. This is not some sort of a bill or an act that's trying to get passed. This is a proposed rule change within the VA. The VA notifies all the respective parties involved, stakeholders, and so forth through the Federal Register. And so they don't need Congress to do anything, but your congressional member could reach out and say, hey, where are you guys going to get this thing done anytime soon? This is, really important to my constituency, right? So the more people that talk about it will create an environment of which maybe you'll kind of poke the VA and get them to move this along. It's long overdue, sadly. I'm glad that it is coming into effect. And like I said before, it's not just for the veteran. It's going to absolutely impact the surviving spouses and so forth. So with that, we'll go ahead and conclude it there. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.